Hi, my name is Lindy Vaughn, owner of Studio V, where we build confidence through creativity. Welcome.
Welcome to a congregation of collaborations with conversations hosted by the storyteller.
Purpose. Sometimes purpose is birthed out of the hardest things in our life, out of hurt, out of pain, out of brokenness. And in those times, we sort of forget who we are, we forget where we're going, and we wonder about our next move. Boom. Then there's purpose. We begin to understand that there is a reason for my existence. If I can make it through the worst times in my life, I have purpose. If I can make it through the fire, through the trial, through every situation, in my past, in my future, if I can make it through it, there's purpose. And that purpose breeds motivation. So every time I step outside my door, every time you step outside your door, there's purpose and there's motivation so that somebody else can see their purpose and they can grab hold of their motivation. So always remember, purpose at times is birthed out of the hardest times in our lives. But purpose is what it is.
Welcome, brother. Have a seat. Welcome. This is Storytelling with the Storyteller, presented by Active, sponsored by Studio V, a conversation amongst intellectuals. Tonight's topic is going to be self-motivation. We have a special guest, Brother Jermaine Jackson, who is clearly motivated, a man of his own person, bigger than that, a man of integrity. Mr. Jackson, welcome to the platform.
It's an honor to be here and just a blessing to be alive. Good.
Tell the people a little bit about yourself, brother.
Well, personally, I am a speaker, a musician, a writer, poetry, everything. I kind of bounce around, sharing experience, just sharing my perspective on experiences of my life, things that I've been through, and just, one thing about being an artist is that you draw, you paint, you speak, but you articulate the things you go through in everything that you do. So that's the person I am. Other than that, I just I serve as a pastor. I do what I need to do for my community, for my young people. I just want to see them make it. I want to see them make it. So that's who I am.
Right on. So tonight's topic is going to be self-motivation. Brother Jackson, can you tell me what has made you self-motivated, and where did you get a lot of that power from?
Well, one thing that has made me self-motivated is knowing that it's a purpose behind everything I do. Knowing that every word I write, every time I perform, every time I record, even in the small instances, it's just knowing that it's gonna do something. It affects the nature of the world around me. It affects the air, it affects the physical things, the touch, the earth. Everything is affected by the things that we do. There's nothing that goes unnoticed. Every time I start to write, and if I don't finish it, it's still something. It's a step to the next step in my life. It's a step through the next door of my life. So that's what motivates me is knowing that what I do has an effect on something or someone, and nothing goes to waste. Nothing at all.
Amen. Does the company you around, does that affect it? Do you think we should limit ourselves to other people, or make sure we're more exposed to other people when it comes to keeping ourselves motivated?
Well, the Bible says, "Be not unequally yoked," and I take that with this understanding that if this person that I'm around is not on the same page I'm on, then I'm actually wasting time. Now, again, I don't believe there's any wasted space or wasted existence, but I don't want to feed off of the negativity if I'm around negativity all the time. I don't want that to be what I feed off of. I don't want that to be where my energy comes from. So if it's negative, if I can't do something to help a person come out of a negative place, then it's not my assignment. So I've dropped my seeds. I've done what I need to do. Now it's time for me to move around. So just to answer the question, to break it down, yeah, I believe that if you're in a negative space, it will affect you, and it can kill your growth. It can kill your drive real quick.
Do you think knowing a person, because a lot of times we as people, we say, oh, it's my purpose, it's my purpose. Do you think that's something easy to obtain, to find like your purpose? Do you think that's something everybody can touch, or does that take a lot of internal self-work and motivating yourself to be able to like find that?
I believe it's not easy to find, but everybody has it. Because take me, at this point, this day and age, I'm 38 years old or 38 years young, and I'm still figuring out my purpose. I'm still getting an understanding of the person I am and what I bring to this world. I'm still learning not to limit myself. I'm still learning not to allow my past mistakes and my past misfortunes to deviate me from where I'm going in life. That's something I've struggled with for years. And just to share that with people, like, no matter what goes on, purpose is always relevant and purpose is everybody's. But to find it, I don't think you ever just complete it. I don't think there's ever an ending to growth. But it does take some shedding of the self. It does take some shedding of old ideas and old thoughts and opinions. It does take a shedding of that. It does take a breaking of yourself. I believe that real purpose is found in the brokenness. Because once you're broken, then you have to learn to put yourself back together. And in putting yourself back together, you learn who you are. You learn why you have to put yourself back together, because somebody else may need to know how to put themselves back together, and they have to share that with somebody else. So I don't believe it's easy to find, but I believe that it's able. You can find it.
Right. And positive thinking definitely, we know, plays a huge impact on motivation. Positive thinking is, for me, maybe a little bit more easier said than done. Especially we live now where everybody's, oh, be positive, be positive, be positive. But to have your thought process drenched in positivity is kind of difficult, what I've noticed for me. What do you do to keep your thought process positive, leading you into the realm of motivation, and where you just kind of keep it there? What do you do?
Me, I gotta stay busy. I gotta stay creating. I gotta stay bringing to life this thing that's in me, this art that is a God-given talent, I believe. I gotta keep bringing that to life so that I can see it, so I can make it, so it's tangible in front of me. So I don't focus on the negative. I find it when I'm not being creative, or when I hit a roadblock or stumbling block. If I become stale and stagnant, then that's when the negative thoughts seep in. That's when the you can't do, or you'll never be, all those thoughts, they seep in. Again, I didn't realize it for years, but I struggled with depression. And those are the thoughts that seep in. In my younger days, suicide was at the tip of my tongue. It was, I wanted to do it because I felt like, what am I doing? But in those times, I wasn't being a creative. I was more so being a follower. I was more so trying to find who I was in other people's ideas and what they thought, or maybe what TV said. But to stay in that positive lane, it is a struggle. It is a fight every day. But once I create something, whether it's a song, whether I write it out, whether I get ready to preach a sermon, when I create that, it reminds me, like, this is why I exist. And that's the positivity that I walk in. That's what it keeps me in. So
for me, I like that answer. I tend to get motivated when I get pissed off.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, for me, it's not always something positive. It can be like the end of the world, and then I'll find myself to be motivated. What do you recommend for people? What do you recommend people get their motivation from? Whether it be negative, whether it be positive, whether it be whatever. What do you recommend that people try to get it from?
I recommend that people get motivation from existence and just finding out who you are. Like, not to just drown myself in seeking myself, self. It's not about that. I believe that every person exists to help another person, to be a help, to give something away. We don't exist to get. We exist to give. Whether negative or positive, you will find motivation in something. Negative for me personally, it came from the turn downs and we don't accept you and you're not this. That's where my negative motivation come from. But in that negative motivation for me, it didn't lead me to create positive. It led me to go and hurt myself even more. So in finding that, I recommend, like, if your motivation, if your motivation is negative and it's coming from something and you see yourself hurting yourself or pulling back or you stop creating, then break away from that. And the positive side of it is, like I was just saying, when I create and I see that thing made tangible, and I may talk with somebody about, oh, I did this, and just to get that positive feedback, it builds you up. And not to sit and wait on somebody to tell me what I'm doing, but it starts somewhere. So to just dial it down and just go back to where do I recommend people get their motivation from? I recommend that you get your motivation from purpose, and in seeking purpose. As you seek your purpose, create, write it down. I'll tell anybody, take a tablet with you or a notebook and just write down ideas as they come to you. Don't dwell on it. Take your phone out. If something comes to you, write down the idea. I don't care whether it's what it is, just write down the idea. You are given thoughts, and your thoughts are seeds, and your seeds, they grow. But you gotta write it down. You gotta put it out there. You gotta remind yourself daily. So I recommend people get their motivation from purpose. Wow.
What type of habits do you think people may form or get into that may reduce the creativity?
Laziness, slothfulness, just you get into watching others be creative, and you start to beat yourself, you start to condemn yourself, you start to put yourself down. Oh, that should have been me, that should have been me. I've been on both sides of the coin, and I've been there where I've watched folks excel in rap and in speaking and in different things that I consider myself good at. And I get into a bad habit of beating myself down. Well, I don't deserve, or even getting into the habit of just, well, maybe that's not for me. Maybe I just need to go get a 9-to-5 and just work that for the rest of my life and just let somebody else determine the hours that I spend in a day and what I do all day. So that's the type of habits I believe form. You form habits of condemning yourself when you're not moving forward. You just start to put yourself down. You start to see yourself as always on the ground, never taking off, never being more. Right. That's probably the worst habit I believe that comes out of that. And
I think that habit kills creativity so much because, like you said, you'll say, well, that should have been me, or I should have been there, or, oh, I should have these views or these numbers, etc. And I've ran into a lot of really, really great artists that have become discouraged, don't have any more self-motivation, and are not even delving into creativity because when they look at what they got to present, what comes from their creative realm, in comparison to what's out here, what people can see, then they feel like, oh, it's not good enough, oh, that idea was stupid. What would you say to artists that are up and coming, that are dealing with their creativity? Because it can sometimes be a battle to decide, okay, this can be hot. Oh, no, you just really in your feelings today, sister. Yeah. Oh, no, this is a really great idea. I'm like, oh, okay, that's probably going to last about an hour. So what would you recommend to up and coming artists to make them feel secure in their creativity, regardless of what the numbers look like or who's doing it and who's not doing it?
I would say just keep creating. Just keep on doing what you do. Don't stop. Just write about, and I recently heard this quote, write in the negative, write about it. If it's positive, write about it. And not to say all the writers, but I mean, if you're an actor and something negative happens, put it out there. You watch countless superstar comedians that always, most of their material comes from the bad stuff in their life, from every negative point. Everything, your life is a story. Your life is a book. I can't just put in any other terms. Every year, every day is a chapter. It's a line. It's a book. Your life is a book. If you keep putting it out there, you keep putting it down. Just keep on creating. Keep on working. Don't stop. I'm a writer. I can't put the pen down. I gotta keep the pen in my hand, because if I don't, that's when it stifles it. So to anybody up and coming, keep writing, keep producing, keep making, keep creating. Don't stop. Keep drawing. Keep talking. If your gift is working for somebody, keep working. Just don't stop. Because the minute you put it down, the minute you become stagnant, that's where you lose time. You lose days, months, years. You lose them. So that's my advice, is just keep on creating. Right when you feel bad, right when you feel good, right when you feel hopeless, right when you feel excited and life is at the top for you, just keep on putting something out there. Don't stop. Don't stop.
I agree with that. And oftentimes in the creation of it all, what I have noticed is that the purpose is my weapon. Like when I knew what my purpose was, I can only thank the Holy Spirit that I knew it at 9. When I knew what my purpose was, it became my weapon. Mm-hmm. So when I do feel down, or I do get pissed off, or I do get excited, the creativity for me personally is never far away, because when I learned that my purpose was my weapon, and in that creativity lived and all the things next door to it, it became easier for me to not let anyone or anything kind of take that away from me. In your walk with your creativity and in your purpose, do you see it as your weapon?
Yes, I do. I like that you said that, because that just opened up a whole floodgate for me. It fights the depression. It fights the sadness. It fights the negative, the condemnation. It fights the idea that my mistakes own my life. What I did in my past. I made a lot of mistakes. I done a lot of wrong. I hurt a lot of people. But my creativity it continues to let me know. I was even praying about this. I think it was this morning, that every time I take a breath and I'm still here on this earth, there is a reason. Every time I write, that's my pen is my sword. That is how I defeat everything. When I create a song and I listen to it, and I'm pleased with it. I critique myself a lot, but when at the first point of your creativity, when you do it, you look at it and say, this is bigger than everything that tried to destroy me. Right on. So yeah, it is my weapon.
Right on. And a big one. And I thank God for that weapon. If I didn't have purpose and creativity, I would be found weaponless in this world. Yeah. It's easy to... A lot of people stand out, and a lot of people are different, and a lot of people are weird. But I always say that's kind of easy to be different and stand out and weird. Yeah. What's difficult to be is to be normal and be different. What's difficult to be is to be yourself and be able to have in common with people around you and be a common man and a layman and a person that people can touch and relate to, but them still know that you carry a mighty weapon. That is what's difficult. You can find a person that is not average, but they have no weapon. So I thank God for the weapon. I thank God in giving me the weapon of poetry. It has saved my life so many times over and over again. And for years I thought that the pen and the pad was for me. It took me a while to learn that the pen and the pad was not for me. I'm just a vessel that's being used to. The pen and the pad is for the people. Yeah. Now, in that, I have had a few moments in my heart where I think they don't want the message. They don't want it, even though you know that's who it's for. So when you feel like that, Brother Jackson, when you feel like, oh, the people don't want this, what inside of you then do you go to get motivation to say, hey, I know they may not want it, but damn it, I'm still gonna do it?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's just knowing like this is what was given to me. And again, I'm a firm believer that we're here to give. Like nothing is mine, it's for somebody else, it's for someone else to hear. If it's a person that, that comes to me and says, oh, I don't want that's not for me. For every one person that says it's not for them, it's 10 other people that it is for. And I struggle with it, I fight with it, but I just come back to that foundation, to that solid ground, knowing that person may not want it, but it's 10 people behind them. It's 20 people, it's 100 people behind them that's gonna find that thing, just what they needed in that moment, in that hour, in that day. And sometimes quotes for me, they last for a minute, sometimes they last for years. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if I don't put it out there because that one person said it, then it's 10 people that won't get that breakthrough, that won't overcome, that won't get that motivation, that won't get that fire lit. Mm-hmm. So that's my biggest thing, is just reminding myself, for all the naysayers, it's the people that's behind them that's saying yes, yes, yes. For every one no, it's 10 yeses.
Right on. What are some of your personal stumbling blocks or obstacles when dealing with your self-motivation?
Just my past. I was sharing with my brother earlier. I said 2020 has been a defining year for us. There's been a lot going on nationally, and it's been a lot going on in people's personal lives. And with that being said, one of the big things that happened to me this year is after I was laid off due to the sickness, but there comes a point where you got to find yourself and you got to figure out, okay, what's my next move? And in finding my next move, there are some things that I did in my past that the world always sees. The world always, and when I say the world, I'm just being objective, like, just a big scheme, the big scheme of it. They see what you did wrong. They see the paper. They see the mistakes you made. And that was a personal stumbling block for me, because in moving forward, people didn't see me. They saw paper, and they saw, oh, he did this, oh, he did this, and that, and you feel like you're judged because of paper, and I fight with that. I don't want to be judged because of what paper says about me.
I know that's right.
And it reminds me, it put me in a place where I had to redefine or define myself, and then redefine myself as far as looking in the mirror saying, you know what, this reflection that I see needs to change. I recently wrote a song that, that's gonna come out here in the future, pretty soon actually. But I'm so done with this reflection. I'm so done with toxic. I'm here to kill the option. Now get your hands off my reflection. Get them out my knowledge and get them out my pockets. I'm so done with this reflection. And that chorus is saying I'm done with the negativity that I saw in myself. I'm done with the past that I see in the reflection. My reflection is now, and it's for my next step. And that's what I need to see, my creativity, my reason, my purpose. So, like I said, when I talk about stumbling blocks, that's one of the biggest ones, is just, knowing that my past doesn't define me. There are things that I did that were great in my past, and then there are some things that if I could go back right now, I'd change it up. Right on. But it all points to where I'm going, and even every mistake that I made in my past is for somebody in my future. Yeah. So that's my biggest stumbling block, or has been.
Right. Well, it seems like you got a grasp on motivation and self-motivation. What do you do to motivate others outside of, I know we have our artistry and we have our work. What do you do to motivate others? I heard you say that you're a minister. Is that where you do your other motivation, is through God's?
That's one way, but I thank God that He didn't create me to be just one-sided. That's one way and that's one avenue. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm learning it's just exist, just be. And you know, when you look at your story, when you look at, you know, the chapters of your life, I went back. I'm gonna deviate because I'm a proof point.
Take your time.
I went back and I looked at how some people look at me. Now I know some people that might look at Jermaine and all they see is the teenage Jermaine, the idiot, the child, the learning. Some people saw the fault, but it's more people that see the motivation. They see the anointing. They see the gift. They see the smile. I hear people all the time, and not bragging at all, but people say, man, your smile just blessed their day. That, for me, that's motivation in itself. Before I even speak a word, before I do a song, before I do anything, if my presence can put a smile on somebody's face, if we exist, just exist. And that's motivation for me. That motivates people. Or that's how I see myself motivating people.
Right on. That's true. That's true. One last question I got for you, brother, is what is one goal, you could achieve that you feel would make life a little easier?
For me, would just be establishing myself, establishing who I am as an artist, speaking music, as a minister, and just, you know, being that what I just said, just existing. Like when Jermaine walks in the room, it's not so much you know his talents, his gifts, but when I talk to you, you know who he is. When I walk in the room, I'm gonna give you something positive. I'm gonna give you something motivational. I don't care what type of battle I went through. It's just knowing, like, I'm established as I'm gonna be motivation till they put me in the grave. So that's that would make my life easier. And that, like I say, I'm getting there. And with this year being a defining year for me, a redefining year for me, that's what my new year and my everyday, from this moment on, my everyday is gonna be, I'm established as somebody I'm gonna bring motivation when the sun ain't shining.
Right on. Mr. Motivation. That's what I'm gonna call him, Mr. Motivation. Thank you, Brother Jermaine Jackson, for being on this platform. This is Storytelling with the Storyteller, a conversation amongst intellectuals. Thank you so much, brother, for talking to us about motivation. You said a few things that have definitely motivated me. Stay tuned. Well, I'll be watching out for Brother Jackson. He's going to be everywhere. And again, brother, we appreciate you and thank you. Welcome to The Takeover. This is brought to you by Active, and we're here in Studio V. Thank you for tuning in.